Yesterday I saw this really stupid movie called Youngistan, and there was this guy who's 28 years old who becomes the Prime Minister of India. Then he goes to a cabinet meeting, and then he comes back to his girlfriend, and he says, "I had to meet the Secretary R, which is the RAW head, Research and Analysis Wing head." And then his girlfriend says, "Is she beautiful?" This is ingrained into our media. You don't have to behave like that. It's just that you get these ideas over the past 24 hours, and you start to, believe that it's true because you've heard it so often, and then you believe it's true, Like, that's how all of these conspiracy theories start. And there are a lot of people who even believe that the earth is flat. Did you know that? I was surprised when I found out. But they actually believe it. A lot of videos on YouTube, and if you watch them, you might start believing it too. Just watch it every day. You'll believe it too. Even though you have enough proof of the curvature of the earth. Proof doesn't matter. You see, a lot of us believe that belief depends on proof. But no. Proof does not make you believe or unbelieve something. Emotions do. When you become emotionally ready to believe something, you'll believe it. When you become emotionally unready to believe it, you will stop believing it and you'll start doubting it, no matter what it is. Okay, so don't be too confident that what you believe now is what you're going to believe forever. Okay. Anyway, I was talking about Linga Matra, which is jealousy, entitlement, this sort of thing, where you want to put your mark on something, just like a dog pees on a pole and says, "This is my territory." You're marking your territory. Okay, so it could be like, my daughter, my son. Oh man, I have to now save them from I don't know what you want to save them from. Like, they don't have any faculties to save themselves. And people are still saving their children when they're 30 and 40. And that's even more disgusting. It's disgusting enough that you want to save your child when they're 5 or 6. Teach them to save themselves. And they have a self-preservation instinct. If you allow them to develop it, they'll develop it. If you're having trouble with it, sign up for my course and I'll help you with any of these things. Anyway, so that's Linga Matra. Different kinds of entitlement. To take someone else for granted. When you take someone else's time for granted, it's Linga Matra. You say, okay, now this person owes me this time, without you having paid for it or earned it in any way. You want their time. You want their attention without having earned it. It's ugly. It's ugly. There's no benefit for them in giving you that time. And yet, the person who gives it to you, what trip are they on? They're on the same Linga Matra trip. That's why they give it to you without you having earned it. Do you understand? So, Linga Matra is damn important. Everyone has fallen trapped, and it's so subtle and it's so socially approved. Linga Matra, like the movie example I gave you, through media and movies it reaches you. It's totally okay to be like that, And when I was a kid and my great-grandmother died and everybody's crying who didn't even like her, I could not understand it. I went and asked them, "Why are you sad? You didn't even like this woman." And they're crying, genuine tears. So, it can make physiological changes in you, this entitlement, and leads to great amounts of sorrow, being entitled. Also, expecting that things should go a particular way just because you think so. Well, the world operates on its own rules. I've had to stop this podcast because my recorder got full. And that's why now it's part 2 of the podcast. Okay. So, anything can happen. things can be out of your reach. Now it's a question of, do I want to learn how to stitch it together, or can I get the same effect by making it part 2? I don't think I want to right now learn how to stitch it together. I'm not emotionally ready to learn these things. I think it works just as well if it's a part 2. It gives you a break for you to come back to, so it's really not a problem. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to learn this right now. Not that I have any objection learning it if there was a purpose. So even learning cannot be without a purpose, okay? You must really want it emotionally, then you'll learn. So, being entitled is something you shouldn't do, because things have their own way of working themselves out. You are not causing any of it by any of your faculties. You have some causative role. Well, accept that. You don't have 100% causative role in anything. The first cause is maybe the Big Bang. In yoga, we call the first cause as Shiva, the formless. And what emerges is also Shakti, which is also formless. And then Shiva and Shakti give rise to the 10,000 things that you see around you. It's the same with Chinese. They have Wuji with the Chinese philosophy, I mean. They have Wuji, which is Shiva, Taiji, which is Shakti, and what emerges from all of these, Yin and Yang emerges from these, Rajas and Tamas in our system. Just keeps emerging. And we go one step further and we call the balance of Yin and Yang as Sattva, which is also called Taiji in the Chinese. So they have the same word for Shakti and Sattva, but we separate Shakti and Sattva. So it's pretty much the same system. So that's the first cause. In Buddhism, the first cause is called emptiness, and everything comes out of emptiness and returns to it. Yes? Christianity, Islam, all say the same thing. You come out of the formless God and then you go back to be judged by Him. And then you're allowed into His kingdom again. Or you're sent back into hell or heaven, into different kinds of hells, of which earth is one. Ego is one hell, which you're sent back into when you can't merge back into emptiness. So everyone's agreeing on this in different language. You have to study the systems if you want to find agreement. But everyone agrees that you are not the first and last cause of everything. There are other causes too. Despite knowing that, we feel entitled. So, it's emotion, right? It's an emotion. It's a whiny entitlement. It is not, by any means, logic or a lack of it. Reason is a plenty for you to drop your ego. But being reasonable doesn't drop your ego. You have all the reasons in the world, but you needn't follow it. Emotions will lead you out of it astray, back into ego. So that's why I say, if you want help, you should sign up for my course. Anyway, I will give you some techniques in the next podcast. Don't lose heart if you can't afford my course. It's not that costly, by the way. The next and final part of ego, also the culmination, is called alinga. Alinga means to not give a shit about anything. I don't give a fuck. IDGAF. That's alinga. Alinga is when you don't care. Many people think this is a state of freedom. And it does feel like that. You feel like you've gotten wings by not caring. But by not caring, what happens is that nobody else cares about you. Do you understand? When you stop caring about things around you, people around you, the beauty around you, life around you. Everything is going on with great seriousness, In nature, here I am sitting. Birds are doing their thing, man. They're just doing their thing. And then the insects were doing their thing all night. Now the birds are... There are some butterflies also doing their thing. And the humans are doing their thing. They're waking up. It's a Sunday. And now you can hear the rattling from far away. That's a truck going on a beaten road. It's doing its thing. Everyone's doing their thing. Seriously, people are building buildings like it's very important. So it is important. You got to care, You can't build a building that's going to collapse on someone. You have to show care. If you don't show care, it's another kind of ego. It's not freedom, alright? Detachment is not freedom. I'll say that again for the hippies. Detachment is not freedom. Please realize this. By giving up everything and then living in a mountain, you're not free of ego. It's still going to create chemicals that will kill you inside your body. By the way, I was doing up some reading and I found out that the human cell is immortal. If its drainage system is proper, if the toxins and wastes are drained from the cell and nutrition is given to the cell, it's literally immortal. It doesn't die. That's what our yogis do. They practice proper nutrition and they practice proper elimination. And that's about it. But it cannot be practiced with an ego. If you don't have an ego, you will start to create metabolic wastes that cannot be eliminated and hang around in your lymph. It doesn't circulate. And then you're going to have a lot of trouble. Okay? So, yeah. That covers the 4 egos. Vishesha, Avishesha, Lingamatra and Alinga, which Maharishi Patanjali talks about. And I don't think there's any 5th ego been discovered after this. So please use this definition to evaluate whether you have ego or not. Take some time to evaluate. If you have questions, send them to me. I'll be very happy to answer them in the next podcast. The next podcast, of course, is going to be Ego Continued, where I'll talk to you about techniques that you can use to recognize ego. Right now you don't have the techniques. Trust me, a lot of it will go unnoticed. Meanwhile, those of you who are excited by my podcast, the next new moon, which is June 12th, I'll be taking in new students for the longevity course, which is going to help you to become very long-lived, if not immortal. I'm going to give you all the techniques. If you practice them, you could well become immortal. So, on this happy note, I will close the podcast for today. Thank you very much for listening. And as I said before, if you'd like to contribute, you can go to dailypashupati.com/podcast. If you want to sign up for my course, you can go to dailypashupati.com/longevity. That's DAILYPASHUPATI. dailypashupati.com. All right. If you liked my podcast, be sure to share it with people who would also appreciate it like you. Thank you very much for listening and wish you good luck.